Okay, we are currently at 20 participants. I am sure that number will grow, but why don't we get started in the meantime? My name is Mark Werwath. I'm the director of the Master of Engineering Management program here at Northwestern University. I've been the director for about the last 10 years. I'm also an alum of the program from roughly 30 years ago. I've also got about that many years of experience in industry. I'm also an engineer, mostly mechanical with a focus on robotics, and project management is how I basically finished my career. Today, we are going to go through an information session for people who are interested in applying to the program. We will go through quite a bit of information here. I assure you that all of you who are attending today and send an email to mem@northwestern.edu will get credit for being here today, and we'll be able to waive the application fee. So I know for a lot of folks, that's important to be able to waive the application fee. So don't let the application fee stop you from applying. I encourage all of you to apply, even if it's a long shot in your mind. I think you'll be surprised at how well you might do in our program, and perhaps even get accepted into the program. So with that, let's get started. This is the agenda for today. Basically, I'll be introducing the key players in the program. Why pursue an MEM degree at all? Why build on your engineering undergrad? Why build on your STEM background? Why an MEM at Northwestern in particular? What does the curriculum look like here at Northwestern? What is the student experience like? What kind of career services do we offer? What are the requirements for admission? And of course, if we have time at the end, Q&A. So the Q&A will be mostly through the chat box. So keep an eye on the chat box. If you have questions, you can type them in there. We do have some staff available and ready to answer some of those questions, and I will do my best at the end to answer them as well. Once again, email mem@northwestern.edu, and you can get your application fee waived for the MEM application, which is basically opening up starting tomorrow, is my understanding. So we have a really nice application process for you. And starting tomorrow, it's open, and I believe you'll see that in mid-December we have our first deadline. Our staff, fundamentally, Abby Shea is our Senior Associate Director. She manages what we call the Office of Professional Education, all the portfolio programs and staff. She's been with Northwestern now, I think, well over 10 years, all in capacity of program associate director type roles. We have a brand new associate director for MEM, Renaissance McIntyre, who I believe is on this call today. She's managing MEM and another program called MBAI, which is the combined program with Kellogg. She oversees the program admission process, student services, curriculum planning, and change. On the admissions side, we have Jamel Apollinar. She leads the admissions process. She's helping lead this session today for us. She provides guidance on application materials. Her and her staff will likely be the ones behind the scenes answering questions about applications and helping you along through the process, helping you collect all the required documentation. So you're going to need a transcript. You're going to need your tuition, application fee waiver. You're also going to need some letters of recommendation, et cetera, et cetera. So test scores, in particular, TOEFL, if you're a foreign student. So she helps make sure that all those are in place and then gets your application reviewed by the committee. Miriam Williams is one of our program assistants. She helps with managing course schedules. Once you're admitted, she will be quite essential to you in terms of getting you registered for classes and getting you set up in your classroom settings and all the logistics you need to make that work. So we are deeply dependent on folks like Miriam and Jamel. My background, 30 years of experience in STEM, mostly in new product development, mostly with companies like Motorola, but I also worked at Northrop Grumman. I also worked at a small company called WMS Gaming that made slot machines. So what's common to all of them, electromechanical devices, software intensity, systems integration, and project and product management. And that was my past. My current day life is really focused on students and focused on the MEM program at Northwestern. My job as director is to accept only the best students, to keep the curriculum current and relevant, to network students to the community of seasoned professionals, to stretch students beyond their comfort zones. So whatever your comfort zone is, make sure that we are pushing you to those limits and beyond. And of course, to help develop technology and engineering leaders, which fundamentally, that's what engineering management is really all about. Who are we targeting? We're targeting STEM professionals who are mid-career. So these are people with maybe 3 to 5 years of experience. So obviously people who are practicing STEM professionals who intend or are ready to manage people, projects, new innovations, or businesses. So the thing about engineers that I'm well aware of is that you kind of get pigeonholed and you get narrowly focused. Our job is to help you understand more horizontal, more the business aspects, more understanding of the strategy, and becoming more valuable to the companies you work for. So we want to focus on engineers who want to start also a technically oriented enterprise or who are ready to innovate within their own enterprise. So we call them entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. And we have courses that cater to those folks, but also cater to those who have no intention of doing anything with innovation, who really are focused on, for example, performance excellence or Six Sigma or managing projects. As a profession, engineering management is amongst the most highly paid professions. I'm sure most of you are aware. Amongst that list would be chief executives, airline pilots, computer and information systems managers. Number 4 is architectural and engineering managers. So this is BLS data, but we're looking at growth of 4% for the next decade. And we're looking at almost 150,000 engineering management jobs in the US alone within the decade. And that's for folks with that particular title. As you'll see later, our folks go into a lot of different directions, including product management, project management, systems engineering, product leadership of all flavors. A lot of folks are thinking about an MBA and why MEM versus an MBA. So that's the classic question. I think this is something I thought about myself when I was, a student 40 years ago. We focus on students that already have the technical background, the STEM background, who are strong in math, who are interested in becoming what we call the T-shaped engineer. The T-shaped engineer has a deep understanding of perhaps one vertical. In my case, it was robotics. I was a robotics expert when I graduated, but T-shaped meaning we want to develop that horizontal, the ability to think horizontally, to think in a systems perspective, think about and understand business, and be able to get what we call a seat at the table so that people take you seriously in a business context. So engineers often don't have a voice when it comes to business because we don't have the language. So we will provide the foundational language and understanding that you need to be able to have that and earn that seat at the table, okay? We are technology focused, right? So we are a little bit more aligned with today's business needs that combine technology and business skills. We are taught, we use teachers and faculty from the engineering school, but also from practicing engineering companies in the area. Your fellow students are experienced engineers, so they all have either industry or typically, industry or government experience. Faster completion, most MBA programs are more than 20 courses. We are 12 courses. Most master's degrees, frankly, are 12 courses. The MBA is actually the outlier. So it's a little bit more distinctive, meaning specialized or niche, right? So where there's close to 200,000 MBA graduates per year. And in terms of MEM, there's probably 1/100th, 1%. So about 1,800 to 2,000 MEM graduates in a given year. So there's always going to be this comparison. And frankly, the MEM is more specialized. The MEM focuses on technology professionals. And I think you'll find that many companies are looking for exactly this. There's not only a shortage of STEM folks, STEM engineers, but also folks to manage STEM people, which is where we come in. So why pursue an MEM at Northwestern? We have this whole brain education philosophy. And that philosophy basically says that, left brain, right brain, the analytics side, the creative side, we want to tap into both. We want to integrate both together. We think that makes for a better leader. We want to combine engineering, technology, and business housed within, at least in this program, the industrial engineering department. So for those who don't know, industrial engineering is fundamentally focused on optimizing through mathematical approaches, operations research, and techniques such as that to help optimize systems, design systems, redesign systems, and understand how systems work from a queuing perspective, from a logistics perspective. So you'll see industrial engineers in factories and warehouses, in distribution centers, in anything that is a recurring operation. I think industrial engineers bring very unique perspectives. So that is our bias. That is where we come from. That is how we see the world. That's the lens by which we view most of the problems in front of us. We have a faculty that's both Northwestern, research faculty, as well as local industry. We call them adjunct faculty. So we have practitioners as well as researchers teaching you. We have high degrees of collaboration, interaction with the Kellogg School of Management, which is literally, a few hundred feet from our building. The Farley Center for Entrepreneurship, which is almost literally in our building. Other professional master's programs, there's literally like 11 professional master's programs at McCormick School of Engineering. And of course, the Garage, which is an entrepreneurship incubator for startups coming out of various classes and various students' initiatives. We have competitions, we have industry night, we have other sorts of networking events that we put on to help students network with industry, with each other, and with alum. We find that that's where a lot of these interactions can help lead to opportunities, whether they're projects, internships, or jobs, right? We want to create opportunity, and those opportunities come through networking and through these interactions. Our population is mixed between part-time and full-time. I think you'll find that in the classroom, it'll appear that there's a lot more full-time students, largely because they register for more classes. They register for 3 or 4 classes per quarter. We are one of the top tier MEM programs. We're also located in a part of the country here in the Midwest where there's very little competition. I think the closest might be Purdue in Indiana. We also have, I think, something out of Wisconsin, Madison. And there are some excellent schools, but they're not that close. And in Chicago, I think we're the only real top tier MEM program in the Chicago area. I said earlier, we're part of the Industrial Engineering Department, IEMS. We're highly ranked. I think we're ranked number 4 in the US for industrial engineering programs. I think Northwestern as a whole is ranked among the top 20 universities in the country. and the engineering school is also among the top 20. So number 4 for U.S. industrial engineering programs at the graduate level, we have a world-class PhD program. People get recruited from all over the world from our PhD program. We have an MEM program, which is the one we're talking about today, one of the oldest, I believe one of the oldest in the country, certainly the oldest here at McCormick, and MSIA, which is a data science program. So data science basically is a full-time day program. We are an evening program, so our classes are held mostly at night. Our class sizes are relatively small. I think you'll find that that's true across the board for all the graduate programs, but ours in particular, our class size is probably under 40. Our curriculum basically is broken into 12 classes. Those 12 courses or classes, 7 of which are core, so they're mandatory classes, and I'll get into what those are in a minute. We have 2 advanced engineering methods, and that gives you 3 electives. So what's nice about our program, I think you'll find in general, the theme is we are flexible, where our flexibility starts with the curriculum, where you're picking 5 out of your 12 classes, you're tailoring the program to meet your specific needs. And also flexible in terms of scheduling and sequencing. Part-time students can take classes over a 3 or 4, maybe even a 5-year period of time. Full-time students can choose between a 9-month program and a 15-month program. And having that flexibility works, certainly in the last couple of years, certainly works to students' advantage, because the labor market is quite dynamic and quite demanding. So if they want you, they often want you now, and that's part of the challenge. So having a flexible degree program is working to everyone's benefit. The 7 core classes, we have a gateway course, which is our engineering management course. You will see in that course, basically you're simulating running a business, and you'll work in teams to do that. We have an accounting and a finance and a marketing course, very traditional, similar to an MBA, except tailored for engineers. So these are not necessarily the same exact course you'd get in an MBA program, because we know our population are STEM professionals. They learn quicker, they have strong math backgrounds, and they don't need to necessarily dive as deep. So if you look at the accounting class, right, we have financial accounting and managerial accounting in the same course, whereas in an MBA program, that would certainly be at least 2 separate courses, right? Decision tools for managers is kind of our, what would you call it, our signature course, right? That's our signature because it's all about operations research. So that goes back to industrial engineering and the core of who we are here at McCormick. Leadership and org behavior is a core class. We want every student to hopefully be groomed for becoming a leader, towards becoming a leader. And this is about your leadership skills and techniques and proclivities. So this is all about you learning how to become a better leader. Strategic management is our capstone course. So we're the gateway, you're simulating running a business, you're competing with other students, you're learning by doing, right? Strategic management is more focused on the economics, saying, okay, you made a lot of decisions in the gateway course. Now let's understand how the macroeconomic climate, recessions, depressions, boom times, right? Various types of economic conditions that surround, in essence, the business cycle and how it affects the product cycle and your company's performance, and how you should be adjusting your company as you go throughout these various cycles. These advanced engineering methods courses, you get to choose 2. I personally teach the project management class, which is focused on PERT and CPM networking, scheduling, planning, and of course, resourcing. Product management is a very popular course, and that focuses on requirements development. A lot of our students take that, and as you'll see, we have a concentration in product management, which I'll get into in a few moments. Otherwise, this is just a small sampling of the various courses we have in advanced engineering methods. And this is an even smaller sample of the electives that we have. So again, you have 3 electives, you've got 2 AEM courses, and then you have 7 core classes, which build up to your 12. You can take courses from Kellogg. We encourage probably maybe 1 or 2 at the most, frankly, because they're not targeted for engineers. And you're going to find that it's just a different experience. MSLOC, Learning and Org Change, is also pretty popular, as is courses from Nuvention, which is our Farley Center courses on entrepreneurship. I mentioned we have areas of concentration. Here's the 4 areas of concentration, right? So during your interview with me, if you get that far, I will ask you if you have an interest in one of our areas of concentration. So please don't answer by saying, what's that? Because I actually go through it right here. Managerial analytics is possibly becoming one of our favorite areas of concentration. You can see the various courses that are offered within that. Project and process management is one of the oldest areas of concentration. I've been teaching project management and negotiations within that for several years. Product management is maybe not the newest, but it's certainly the most, I think the most popular in terms of the number of students attracted to it and attracted to MEM. If you think about technical project management, technical product management, what better place than say Northwestern or any first year MEM program to recruit your next generation technical project or product managers. So that product management, we actually have experienced product managers teaching in that. We also have a CSPO certification opportunity within that. And you get to basically be very hands-on with very leading edge product development opportunities. Our last area is our up and coming one called healthcare systems. We're finding that MEM students are very needed and desired within the healthcare community, fundamentally in the clinical settings to help them manage their clinical settings more effectively and to be more efficient in how they do that. So we have several students who work out of Lake Forest Hospital as part of their healthcare systems concentration every year. And we have several courses that are targeting that particular area. In addition to what's happening in the class, we also tend to focus a lot on what's happening outside the class. So I mentioned workshops earlier. CSPO is Certified Scrum Product Owner, which is paralleled by something called the Certified Scrum Master. So the Scrum Master is really for project managers. CSPO is really more for product managers. We often offer both in case we have students interested. And we don't just limit it to MEM students. We bring in students from all of McCormick who might be interested in these certifications. So these are extracurricular. They're often a slight charge, but much cheaper than what you would pay in the real world for such training. It's usually done over a weekend, and then the test is optional at the end for those who want to get certified. We have visits to various companies this year. I'm sure we're going to go to companies like Masonite and Healthineers out in the Siemens facility in Barrington. Chicago Tube and Iron, we go every year. Motorola Mobility, UI Labs. These are places that MEM students often work or intern. These are often students from these companies are coming to us as part-time students in the evening. And these are just large companies that really understand what MEM is all about. We have tours throughout, including 1871, which is our local digital incubator, but there's also M-Hub, which is a mechanical incubator. There's a healthcare incubator. There's also a IoT incubator, all of them within Chicago, and all of them are areas where students are plugged in, and we are certainly plugged in as a program. There's something called ISTP, which is a very large kind of, I call it a wet lab type incubator, which is located here in Skokie as well. So we've got lots of incubation going on in Chicago, lots of startups. It's a pretty, I would call it a pretty vibrant startup community here. The student body, everyone always wants to know what's our mix historically, and this is from 2021. Historically, we've been pretty male dominated. I think this year we're going to be a little bit more balanced in terms of closer to 50-50 female to male ratio. What I always find astounding is that 20% of our students already have a master's degree or some sort of advanced degree. The amount of experience, somewhere between 5.3 and 7.6 years, depending on whether you're full-time or part-time. You can see the backgrounds, everything from mechanical to electrical to computer science to chemical. I think this year we have a little bit more chemical. This is historical data. So I think when I show this chart next year, you'll see more chemical engineers, more of a balance between male and female, and I believe also more advanced degrees as well. The countries that we draw from all over the world, China, India, Chile, Kazakhstan, Mexico. In fact, this year we have a cooperation and collaboration with Tec de Monterrey in Mexico, where one of our classes is being held in joint session with the folks from Tec de Monterrey. This is the fall 2021 breakdown, and it's not terribly different from the December. So I'm going to move on. These are the companies that we draw from. These are the companies that are largely local, I would say. We have a very large Baxter presence because their corporate headquarters are here. Motorola has historically been very strong. Abbott Labs has their corporate headquarters, along with all of their sub companies such as AbbVie, et cetera. So, Kraft has their headquarters here. United Airlines has their headquarters here. So does Wrigley, and they have their innovation center here. Medline is a medical company that has their headquarters here. Northrop Grumman has a electronic systems division that does countermeasures here, as well as several, facilities from GE and Siemens, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got a good variety of companies where students are coming from, but also companies where students get placed into, right? Caterpillar should be up here. We've definitely placed several people at Caterpillar as well throughout the years. The outcomes. Everyone wants to know outcomes. We have about a population of about 40 students, maybe 35 to 40. In June of 2020, those 37 grads that we had, only 2 were looking for work at the time of graduation. So 35 out of 37, which is roughly 94, 95%, were gainfully employed at the exact time of graduation. I'm sure within a month or so, virtually everybody was employed. These are the types of titles that they commanded, from product manager to project manager to business and product analyst. Supply chain manager is still very popular. And then I think it's going to become more popular, by the way, in the future. And then a few systems engineers and engineering managers. A year later, we had basically very similar metrics in terms of 28 out of 32 were gainfully employed. You can see the types of titles they had, much more diversity. We still had a good number of product managers, including people at Tesla and people at Amazon that were placed through the program. Operations managers through Amazon. We had climate consultants. We had senior engineers, mechanical engineers, but also leadership development, chief growth and product officer, and a few systems engineers as well. So a variety of different roles and responsibilities. The type of salaries that people usually command, well over $100,000 for full-time and somewhere around 31, 32 per hour for internships as a starting salary. So again, the names of the companies all look somewhat familiar. We have DocuSign in the area. We have McKinsey, Deloitte, Cognizant, even Walmart. So we've got an interesting mix of companies here. And you can see the growth. So a part-time student entering the program typically sees a 30K growth in their salary over, say, 3 years that they're in the program. So that's beyond what they would have normally gotten. I've had students that got promoted 3 times while they were in the MEM program. So when they would have expected maybe 1 promotion, they actually achieved 3. Why is that? Well, they're suddenly more marketable within the company. They're more observable. People are seeing that they understand business. People are seeing that they can interact with the business folks in toe-to-toe, eye-to-eye fashion. We have a tremendous amount of resources on campus. Engineering career development is specific to the engineering school. These are folks that are going to be talking to and working with companies that you just saw listed. And they have career fairs, they've got recruitment activities, and they typically bring in at least a couple of companies per week, sometimes as many as 4 or 5 companies per week. So these folks are constantly helping you with looking at your resume, giving you feedback, helping you with interviews, et cetera, et cetera. So these folks are right there in the trenches with you. NCA is looking more at business type opportunities, so marketing and consulting roles. They also have career fairs. And then of course, MEM itself will bring in certain folks that are hiring people and looking for good quality students who could either do internships or full-time jobs, right? And of course, networking, right? We focus on how to create networking events for students so that they can plug in and meet our alum almost from day one. So literally, we've scheduled our football game for the 17th of September. We're expecting to see 30 or 40 alumni, as well as an equal number of students, if not more, coming to see the football game, but also to meet each other and to meet the alum and to network. Iqbal is a great example of a MEM alum who's done extremely well. He was at Motorola, Google, and Lenovo, Senior Vice President of Technology, CTO, and he's a big fan of MEM. He gives back in many different ways. And he's proud of MEM, but we're proud of him as well. He's been a great asset to us. These are the schools that we collaborate with in the MEM PC. These are schools that are top tier universities that also teach MEM. One thing you'll notice is most of these schools are targeting fresh outs, students who have very little, if any, experience. I think the exception would be MIT and us. So we're the two schools on this list that really try to focus on the experienced student. We try to recruit from that base, and that creates a different dynamic in the classroom. So if you're an experienced student, or you will be by the time you start MEM, then you should consider certainly either MIT or Northwestern. And these other schools are great if you're fresh out and you have no experience, certainly pursue them as well. And some of them actually have online options where you can take the degree almost completely online, such as I think Hopkins. So what does it take to get in? What are the requirements for admissions? Basically a GPA of 3.0 or higher. GMAT or GRE is optional, but strongly encouraged if your GPA is less than 3.2, or if your work experience is less than 3 years. We generally count internships, by the way. So when we ask how many years of experience, please include your internships as long as they're professionally related. We want to see career progression. So we'd like to see maybe a promotion or two in the last 3 to 5 years. We'd like to see three letters of reference from senior people, but no more than one of them from academia. We would prefer more of the professional, industrial type references. Strong, concise personal statements. So really give this some thought, make it tailored to Northwestern. Don't give us a generic statement, because we recognize those immediately. We do prefer post-calculus probability and statistics. However, if you don't have it, we can give you a summer option, if you want to call it a boot camp. It's a summer boot camp, no cost to you, where you can take probability and statistics and get up to speed for the program. There is a $50 application fee. Everyone who's attending today can get this waived by sending an email to mem@northwestern.edu. Okay, so you send that email to us, we will waive the fee for applying to the program. Okay, an interview will likely be required for applicants prior to admission, so don't be surprised if one gets scheduled for you. And frankly, we're just trying to assess the fit between you and the program, right? TOEFL scores for international students only. We want to see scores greater than 100, which is the equivalent of IELTS of greater than 7. And also for international students, we want to see your transcripts translated using WES translation as submitted by you. So that's fundamentally the requirements for admission. We want to look at the whole package. So if you have less than 3 years, don't be too fearful. You might want to still apply anyways, because we're always looking for that X factor. We have admitted people with less than 3 years in the past, so don't let that stop you. Tuition has gone up slightly since last year. I think it's about 3 or 4%. Yeah, but there is a discount, a slight discount if you take 4 courses per quarter. So if you finish in 3 quarters, you will have slightly under $60,000 in tuition fees attached to the program. The deadlines, we did move our deadline up, so please be aware of this, right? So it used to be January 15th. I know people who applied in the past would say, don't worry, round 1 is after the first of the year. Not anymore. Okay, we moved it up. We're aligning ourselves with other schools. We want to get everybody, have a chance to apply to us early on. So December 15th is our round 1 deadline. So please mark that down, put that on your calendar. And remember that that's everything. You're supposed to have your application complete, your resume complete, reference letters complete, signed and submitted to us in our hands, as well as your official transcript in our hands. So those are the things that we would be looking for, a complete package by December 15th for round 1. Round 1 is where we also have a small number of scholarships. I know some people were asking about scholarships. Round 1 is where we have a small number, and there's no separate application for that. So we will take the best students from round one and we will offer them scholarships. And frankly, it's possible that, there might be a few scholarships for round two. The bulk will be awarded for round one. Part-time students are a very different matter. We have what we call rolling admissions for part-time students. So if you're looking to apply and you're local and you're going to be taking less than, 1 or 2 classes per quarter, you have 60 days prior to the start of the quarter. So clearly the next window of opportunity for you would be winter quarter, starting in January. Therefore, your application should really be in our hands sometime in the month of October or sooner, okay? We do have some paid scholarship roles and TA roles, not just within MEM, but across all of OPE. There's also some research roles and some other roles within the campus that students have been compensated for. And there's fellowships, occasional fellowships from organizations like ISIN. We do have a connection to the ISIN folks, which is a sustainability organization. So I teach Nuvention Energy. There is a bias. I'll give you that bias up front. Sustainability and clean tech energy is something that will be a theme of technology thread that goes through some of our courses, but certainly the Nuvention Energy course in the winter. So there are ways to earn money on campus. There's also ways to have scholarships awarded. But frankly, largely the financial burden is on you to figure out a way to finance and fund your studies here at Northwestern. So again, if you want to apply, application questions, the questions you can send email mem@northwestern.edu. You can also go to mem.northwestern.edu website and you will see the application form and our processing through there. I believe it's going to open up in earnest after September 1st. So give us at least, 48 hours, and you should be able to get into our new application website. And hopefully you'll find a better experience because frankly, it's a brand new system and much more modern than what we've had in the past. So with that, I'm open to answering questions.
Hi, Mark, this is Lisa. I've been collecting some of the questions during the session so far. So I can let you know some of the top questions we've had.
Great, sounds good. I'm going to mention Lisa's one of our alum from a few years ago. She helps out with our admissions process and she helps out in the office quite a bit. So thank you, Lisa. What's up?
Absolutely. So the first question is related to the part-time versus full-time. Can you talk a little bit about the format of the classes, how they're together, and in person versus online?
So largely our classes are in person. There are a few classes that will be hybrid where you'll be allowed to or able to take an online option. Our part-time and full-time students are always mixed. In fact, we mix them not just at the class level, but even at the team level. So when we create teams, we try to create what I would call max mixed teams. So we want part-time and full-time students to be fully mingled. Why is that? Well, frankly, opportunities are created when you've got people that are looking for jobs and people who are looking to hire sitting in the same team, sitting in the same classroom. So there's a lot of opportunities, even just sitting next to you right there in the classroom setting. But we also like the idea of having, international students and domestic students exchanging their experiences with each other because, frankly, being an engineer 6,000 miles from Chicago and being an engineer in a suburb of Chicago 6 miles away, they can be very different experiences and they're both valid, but they could be very different and we can learn from each other. So does that answer your question?
I think so. And you mentioned, but we can highlight it here, that a part-time student would take 1 to 2 courses per quarter at max, and can even take a break. If you've got, a busy quarter at work, you're going to be traveling, something in your personal life, right? You could.
Well, I think most of our part-time students, they're well aware they could take upwards of a year off if they absolutely need to. But let's say that you get an assignment overseas, you have to go to Singapore for 6 weeks. You can step out of the program and then step back into the program on a quarter-by-quarter basis. We do encourage you to take, while you can, at least 1 course per quarter. Typically, summers are taken off, but some students want to take a summer class. We offer typically 1, at the most 2 summer classes. All of our classes are either at night or weekends on occasional Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon class. And I think we have one exception. We have one class that meets on Friday mornings, and we found very little way to get around it. But that one class is pretty popular, and it can be accessed online. But for the most part, our classes are Monday through Thursday night, starting at 6:30. So if you're local and you get out of work at 5, as long as you're within probably a 20-mile radius, you should be able to get here in time for class. So.
Excellent, thank you. Shifting gears a little bit, people are wondering about whether this program has a capstone project or any opportunities to work with companies on a project.
Yeah, absolutely. We have extracurricular projects that are sometimes part of the class and sometimes outside of the class. So last year we worked with the city of Chicago. We designed, and in fact, many of these projects are loaded into our YouTube channel. So if you want to see presentations from students, this last year, City of Chicago wanted us to design their EV charging network because they're getting, tens of millions of dollars from the federal government. They want to spend it wisely. So our students helped them with the design and the design parameters for the network of charging. We also worked with some companies on blockchain technology and clean tech energy. In fact, one of our students was working with Tesla on the possibility of them going into the business of lithium mining. So is lithium mining a possible business opportunity for Tesla? An entire business case analysis was put together. So yes, you can do it both within the class and outside of the class. And occasionally we have paid opportunities. So Horizon Pharmaceutical came to us last year and said, we need, two teams of students looking at some market analytics. And we assigned some teams, and they actually got compensated for their time. It was part-time. It was, a nominal fee, but they got both experience, a great artifact that they could share with future employers, and a little bit of pocket change on the side. So.
Well, thank you for that. We're going to get back into the details of application materials real quick. So talking about the background that we're expecting, the undergraduate degrees. Obviously, we're part of the engineering school, so engineering degrees. What else that people might be wondering about? Computer science, mathematics?
Yeah, mathematics, computer science, any of the sciences, technology, so BTech. I know some folks have a BTech degree or a bachelor's in technology, so we accept that. So yeah, I want to say we're pretty open, but they have to fit within the STEM parameters. So like, for example, somebody with a business degree or a finance degree probably would not find this the right program for them. But generally, yeah, STEM backgrounds and STEM, people who've practiced in STEM fields, right?
Exactly, which gets right into my next item to highlight. Work experience, you mentioned. It's really about the whole package of your background and experience. So we talk about 3 years as a good benchmark, or what a lot of our applicants and students have, but it really depends on the whole picture, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you let's say you're sitting here, and I saw some notes, some of the folks out there are undergrad students today, and I would say that's fine, but certainly give yourself some time in industry. So if you're graduating into a job this month or next month, if you can spend a couple of years in that job and then apply to us, by the time you get to us, you're either between 2 years or close to 3 years of experience. That's probably ideal. That's the sweet spot for you in your career, but it's also the sweet spot for us because we want folks who have practical experience in the classroom.
Very good. And those internships do count, right? And you're gonna count on the application up to the date that you would start the program. So for instance, if you're applying for fall 2023, you're gonna count up how much work experience you'll have had by then.
Yeah, a lot of people discount it because they apply, let's say in the fall of 22, they've applied for fall of 23, and they're only looking at the experience so far. It's just like, well, wait a minute, you might have almost a full year between now and then. Let's factor that in as well. So don't undercount your experience, right? And as you're a student, internships count as long as they're related to your field of study, right? So if you're an engineer and you're doing something in the engineering field, that's great. If you're doing something that's more like a startup or a business analyst role, we might look at it a couple of times to make sure that it's really applicable.
Great, great. And I've seen some questions about TOEFL or WES translation. We really have quite a bit of material on our website about that, specific questions that you might have. So I would recommend that people who need to look at that, go ahead and take a look at our website under the admissions section. So that's mem.northwestern.edu, and go to the admissions section. If you still can't find the information that you need there, then send over an email, mem@northwestern.edu, because those do start to get fairly specific. But Mark, the big question that I've had a couple times now, what is our acceptance rate?
It varies between 20 and maybe 24 or 25%. So it's on par with most of the better MBA programs. So, and it depends also whether you're part-time or full-time. That differs quite a bit. But generally speaking, you have about a 1 in 4 chance of getting into the program. All I can say is, just be diligent in your application. Make sure that you've covered all the pieces and the elements and done the best you can, especially with your statement of purpose, and the quality of your references really does make a difference.
Absolutely, thank you. And we can just stress again that part-time is rolling admissions. A part-time student, a part-time domestic student who's local here in the US can start in any quarter, but a full-time student, and especially an international student, has to start in the fall quarter, and that's outside of our hands. That has to do with visa requirements and the progress through our curriculum. So if you're an international student, you would be looking for a full-time fall start.
And I do want to reemphasize that people really, if you're on the edge or on the fence as to whether you should apply or not, just simply apply. The cost barrier has been removed. If you put a package together for us, it won't be that much different for a package for any other school. I've heard from students who say, well, I'll never get in because Northwestern is so selective. Only 1 out of 12 students who apply, actually get accepted. That's true, but that's true on the undergrad side, right? And for grad admissions, it's very different. So you have a much better chance, ironically, getting into the graduate side of Northwestern than you will statistically on the undergrad side. So don't let the headlines sway you to say, well, I'll never get in. Oh, that's a waste of time. Well, not necessarily. And you'd be shocked. That if you've got a decent GPA and a decent amount of experience, if you can get some good letters of reference, if you have a good reason to be here, more than likely, you'll wind up here.
Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it over to Jamel to give instructions on the fee waiver process to make sure everyone understands how they can get the application fee waived for attending this session. Jamel, could you go over that for us?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I just want to explain that there is a new, with the new application system opening up September 1st, instead of emailing us, you can just put in a code for the fee waiver, and the code is Wildcat23. I can also type that in the chat. We can send it in a follow-up email, WILDCAT23, and it should be fairly simple, I believe. When you start filling out the application, it should be most likely the second page when you start filling your information out. So again, the code for the application fee waiver is Wildcat. I believe it should be all uppercase, but it might work as well if it's not. But WILDCAT23, again, I will type that in the chat and it will be sent via email as well. And again, if you just can't find it anywhere, please feel free to send an email at mem@northwestern.edu, and I'd be more than happy to send you the code for the application fee waiver.
Thank you, Jamel. Mark, any final words for today?
I will point out that in comparison to some of the other programs, including MBA programs, ours is a lot smaller It's more intimate in terms of the small class size, the small batch size or cohort size. As a result, you do get a lot of face-to-face interactions and personal attention. So we will go out of our way to help you succeed, whatever that means, whether that's in the classroom or outside the classroom, whether that's helping you get the right job or get an internship, or even get some opportunity on campus. We're here to make that happen, and there's a variety of ways we do that. We've had students who got fellowships, who've worked in various labs, who've actually gotten jobs through these labs, whether it's the Center for Deep Learning or whether it's the Center for microelectronic circuits. I mean, we have all sorts of student activities both on campus and off. We've had students work with M-Hub, which is a local incubator. We've had students work with 1871, which is a local incubator. So our job is to kind of connect you, to help introduce you, and to help create those opportunities for you, and to help you network, because we know that's one of the more difficult things for engineers to do. Again, I encourage you to apply if you're on the fence. If you're not ready for MEM because you lack the experience, give us some time, maybe wait a year or two and then apply. If you're anxious, absolutely anxious, and you have no experience whatsoever, I would recommend you apply to one of our fellow MEMPC schools. I'm sure they'll be glad to have you. Duke has a phenomenal program. So does Dartmouth and Cornell. So, please check them out if you need to. Otherwise, if you're not sure about MEM, and maybe you're interested in other topics, right, such as maybe civil engineering or design, we have excellent master's programs within the Office of Professional Education here at Northwestern. The MPD program, Masters of Product Development, EDI, Engineering Design and Innovation, MPM, Masters of Project Management and Civil. So we have a great variety of courses, MBT, Masters of Biotechnology, MSR, Master of Science and Robotics. All of these are within the umbrella of OPE here at McCormick, here at Northwestern. So you can have a lot of the advantages of a McCormick degree. And if MEM's not your thing, more than likely one of these will be. So keep us in mind, and remember to keep those deadlines in mind, because they could sneak up on you very quickly. Is there anything I missed, Lisa?
I think we've covered all of the major topics. And again, if you have a specific question to dealing with your background or international concerns, absolutely, that's the time to send us an email, mem@northwestern.edu. But we've got a lot of this information. What we covered today is up on our website all the time, mem.northwestern.edu. So really take a look around there, and you can get that information right away. As well as you can see in the Inside Our Program Story section, some stories of projects and internships that our students have done.
I do want to make one last point. I guess this whole thing about, I'm an engineer today, I'm doing very technical work. How do I transition into being a manager, right? And it's not like a knife switch where one day you're going to be an engineer and the next day you're going to be a manager. It doesn't really work that way. The reason we're desired as managers is because we understand technology, we understand engineering. So in that sense, I hope that you never let go of your engineering background. I hope that you always embrace it. I hope you always stay current. I hope you always stay technical. But life will bring you into the management realm one way or the other. You'll either get sucked in or you're going to step in, but either way, you're going to wind up becoming some form of a manager, whether it's a group leader or managing a project or managing a product. So in that sense, it's best to be prepared by the time you get there, as opposed to getting there and wishing you were prepared. So if you want to avoid the latter scenario, seriously consider engineering management as a way to prepare you for what might be something of an inevitability over your career. Because you're going to have, let's face it, probably a 40+ year career, right? I know nobody wants to think that way, right? You want to think in 3-year chunks or 5-year chunks, but if you really think longitudinally, you might be, in the workplace until you're in your 60s, right, or later. So 40 years, you're probably going to be a manager sooner or later. So this helps you transition into that role.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for attending today.
Thank you all, and thanks to the staff, Lisa and Jamel. It was great having you. Take care, everybody.
Let me see.